Everyone loves a good mystery, but what happens when a mystery never has its satisfying ending? The following unsolved police cases are strange, creepy, and frustratingly without a conclusion. They are some of the most baffling unsolved mysteries of our time. In this video, we are going to be going over some of the most disturbing and the most heartbreaking unsolved cold cases in recent history. Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to a new video. In this video, we are going to be covering some of the most horrifying and disturbing cases that eventually went cold. Now, this video is covering some true crimes that occurred in real life, so this video is going to be covering some harsher topics. I did make chapters like I did with the last couple of videos that covered sort of similar material, so you can feel free to skip ahead if it's not your jam. And I wanted to apologize for this video being kind of late. I know that I said I wouldn't record another video until I got a new microphone, but it was driving me crazy that I couldn't record a video. So here I am, trying to rig this terrible ass mic together for one last hurrah. My new mic should be getting here by about the start of March. I want to say March 1st to March 7th. But my package is being delayed, so we'll see if it shows up at all. Maybe I'll record on this terrible mic until I reach 1 million subscribers. It'll be great. Anyways, back to the main focal point of this video. We are going to be covering some very harsh topics, so feel free to skip ahead if that's something that will bother you. And without any further ado, let's get into this video. Number 10. The Zodiac Killer. Let's start with one of the most publicized unsolved cases. So popular, there's even a website dedicated to tracking down this murderer. Most people are usually quiet about their crimes, but Zodiac, as he dubbed himself, was anything but. From 1968 to 1969, he terrorized San Francisco with his murder spree, taunting the police with his coded letters to the local paper. He had at least 5 killings directly connected to him, although he claimed to have killed 37 people. His terror began when Betty Lou Jensen, 16 at the time, and David Arthur Faraday, 17, were found lying outside of their bullet-peppered car. Jensen was found dead at the scene with 5 gunshot wounds to her back, while Faraday died of a bullet to the head en route to the hospital. Half a year later, a couple who parked their car 4 miles away from the crime scene was also gunned down, 1 injured and 1 killed. The survivor, Michael Mazow, was able to give a description of the killer, describing him as an overweight, heavy-set man, standing around at about 5'8". It would be the Zodiac Killer himself that would give police the remaining evidence that they needed. At 12:48 a.m. that same night, police received a strange call. "I wish to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east in Columbus Parkway to a public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They have been shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." A month later, newspapers received the first letter from the Zodiac Killer. He demanded them publish the letter on the front page, or he'd go on a killing rampage. The letter described the murders, all written with mysterious ciphers that seemed to form a code. This was one common theme with the other letters that he would send, all signed with a crossed circle symbol. One such letter was decoded by a high school teacher and his wife. It read, "I like killing people because it is so much more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and they who I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow me down, or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." There is a bunch of gibberish at the end of the letter, and that concludes it. The Zodiac Killer would go on killing and leaving frustrating evidence for the police to find. Coded letters, anonymous phone calls, the crossed circle written on victims' cars, sending over bloodstained shirts, accounts from survivors, but the police never found him. Number 9. The TAMAN SHUD case. The Zodiac Killer wasn't the only one who loved to use codes. On the morning of December 1st, 1948, a body was found on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. The man's body was in perfect condition, with no injuries to be found. He was well dressed, although the labels on his clothes were missing. In his pocket was a train ticket to Henley Beach, never to be used. It would be a month later when they would find a suitcase linked to him at Adelaide Railroad Station. Its label was removed, as well as those on the articles of clothing inside it. Unfortunately, it led to no clues, just like his autopsy, which reported no foreign substance in his body that could directly link his death to a poisoning. A month later, they would find the most substantial but puzzling evidence in a secret pocket in the man's trousers. It read, TAMAN SHUD. Public library officials called in to translate the phrase. They concluded that it meant ended or finished, which can be found in a collection of poems entitled The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Immediately, police ran a nationwide search for the book where the scrap paper was torn from. A man came forward, claiming that he found the book in the backseat of his unlocked car a week or two before they discovered the body. On the back of it was a strange code scrawled out in a pencil, a phone number linking to a nurse who was also discovered, though the nurse said she had given a copy of the Rubaiyat to an army officer named Alfred Boxall. Both the man who found the book and the nurse denied any connection with the dead man. They never got any further with the case, although many suspect it to have been a suicide, since the book's theme was about having no regrets when life ends. Others think he may be a spy, and until there are any breaks in his case, his grave will remain reading, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach, December 1st, 1948. Number 8. The Tara CALCIO case. On the morning of September 20th, 1988, in Belen, New Mexico, it seemed like a perfect day to ride a bike. Tara CALCIO borrowed her mother's pink bike to go out for a spin. Extroverted and active, she worked as a bank teller and was studying to become either a psychologist or psychiatrist. She planned to play tennis that afternoon and asked her mom to drive out after her in case she got a flat and didn't return home by noon. She never did return. Every lead went to a dead end until a year later, when a photo was found depicting a young woman her age and a missing boy, both gagged. The Polaroid photograph was found in a parking lot outside a junior food store in Florida. The 9-year-old Michael Henley went missing in the same area as CALCIO in April of 1988, when he was hunting turkeys with his father. They appeared to be in the back of a van, with a copy of a book written by V.C. Andrews, CALCIO's favorite author, lying right beside the girl. Initially, Tara's mother didn't think that the girl was her, but the girl in the photograph had a scar identical to the CALCIO. But still, due to the lack of evidence, many experts dismissed the photograph. In 1990, Michael Henley's body was found in Zuni Mountains, where he was hunting, which strongly disconnects the theory that the two were abducted and taken to Florida. CALCIO's parents would eventually die, never finding out who took their daughter. Number 7. The Severed Feet Mystery. In 2007, a girl was roaming a beach in British Columbia when she found a sneaker. To her horror, as she opened up the sock, she found a human foot was still inside. Since then, a number of severed feet has washed ashore. The feet have been connected to 5 men, 1 woman, and 3 of an unknown sex. Throughout the years, with a hoaxed foot thrown here and there, the case has never been completely closed, with many theories floating around as to who the feet belong to. The Vancouver police managed to identify 1 foot in 2008, matching its DNA to a man who was described as a suicide. They later were able to match 2 other feet to a woman who was also believed to have committed suicide. Because of these findings, many speculate that the feet belong to those who have jumped off deaths. However, because of the rarity of only feet and no other body parts showing up, some believe that the feet were connected to a plane crash by a nearby island. Others suggest they were those of the victims of the Asian tsunami in 2004, since the make of the shoes were all manufactured before 2004. Whatever sources these feet are coming from, they have all left the world baffled for years and will continue to do so for years to come. Number 6. The dead woman who named her killer. Although this case has been solved, how it was solved remains a mystery. In 1977, a respiratory therapist in Chicago was murdered in her apartment. TERESITA BASA was found under a flaming mattress, a butcher knife buried in her chest. police attempted to track her stolen jewelry with no luck. They also failed in trying to link any of the suspects to the crime. It seemed impossible to find the perpetrator. That is, until Remy Chua, a co-worker who barely knew the victim, involuntarily became a leading source of information. Chua began having frequent visions and nightmares about BASA. It started in the locker room of her work, where she experienced seeing a man's face behind BASA. This would repeat in her dreams. Chua then began channeling BASA's spirit when conversing with her husband. When channeling BASA's spirit, Chua told her husband the entire story of BASA's murder. She claimed an orderly at the hospital named Alan Showery was helping BASA with her television set when he assaulted her. He then killed her and set her mattress on fire. The spirit was able to give the details of what happened to her jewelry, which was even given to the Showery's common-law wife. Mr. Chua convinced his wife to give these details to the police. The police were obviously skeptical at first, but after seeing the BASA's jewelry on Showery's wife, BASA's cousin was able to confirm it was just as a spirit as she said. The police were able to convict the man for 14 years in jail. Unfortunately, there was not enough evidence to convict him longer. But was it really BASA's ghost who claimed her killer? Perhaps Chua had knew some facts in the case and disguised it as a spirit possessing her. Whatever led police to the killer remains to be a mystery to this day. Number 5. The Boy in the Box. It was the year 1957 in Philadelphia when a hunter found the bruised body of a boy in a JCPenney box. The boy was around 4 to 6 years old. He was found nude and wrapped in a flannel. He seemed to have died from blows to the head. Fearing his muskrat traps would be confiscated by police, the hunter didn't report the body. It was 2 days later, when a college student found the body, that the police started on the case of America's unknown child. It immediately attracted the media's attention, and flyers of the boy were seen throughout Pennsylvania. Although police received thousands of leads, they were never able to uncover the identity of the young boy. They tried tracing back the JCPenney box and checking the boy's fingerprints, but everything led to a dead end. However, there were 2 promising leads of note. One lead involved the foster home located 1.5 miles away. A medical examiner, who pursued the case until his death, had a psychic lead him to the foster home, where he found a bassinet similar to the one that was sold in the box. Hanging on the clothesline were blankets much like the one found wrapped around the boy. He believed that the boy belonged to the stepdaughter of the man who ran the home, and she didn't want to be found as an unwed mother. Police interviewed the couple, but later closed the investigation. In 2003, they reopened the case, when interviewing a woman identified as who claimed her abusive mother brought the child back in 1954. According to her, her mother killed the boy in a fit of rage because was mentally unstable. The investigation was closed as well, leaving the boy to remain America's unknown child. Number 4. The Jeanette DePalma case. Usually people connect witches to Salem, Massachusetts, but for this particular case, the witches were in Springfield, New Jersey. It all started in 1972 when a dog brought home a decomposed forearm. This prompted a police search and a body was soon found atop a cliff in Springfield. The body was identified to be that of Jeanette DePalma, a 16-year-old who had gone missing for 6 weeks. Immediately, rumors began spreading as to the cause of her death. The hill where she was discovered was covered with cult symbols, and many believed her body was placed on a makeshift altar. Many locals and even some police members blame a coven of witches, otherwise known as Satanists, who used DePalma for a human sacrifice. Because of a flood, much of the case's details have since been destroyed. However, some reports from local papers mention that the police couldn't determine the cause of death due to her badly decomposed body. They also had investigated a local homeless man who was a prime suspect, only to find no connection with the killing. As for the cult theory, many believe that DePalma may have provoked a group of Satan-worshipping teens at her high school when she was trying to evangelize them. She was involved with a group who helped drug addicts by finding faith in Christ. The reverend who ran the group theorized that she was selected as a sacrifice to the group because of this. Was she a human sacrifice, or did these suspicions help hide the real killer? Perhaps no one will ever know. Number 3. The GLICO Morinaga case. This case deals with the Japanese companies Asahi GLICO, best known for its Pocky snacks, and Morinaga. In 1984, 2 armed men in masks broke into CEO Katsuhisa Asaki's mother's home and bound her, taking the house key of GLICO's CEO. Entering his house, they also tied up his wife and daughter. Ms. Asaki attempted to negotiate money with the men, but they were after something else. Cutting off telephone cords, they raided the bathroom, where Asaki and his other 2 children were hiding. They abducted Asaki and held him hostage at a warehouse. They issued a ransom for 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold bars. Their plans were discovered when Asaki managed to escape 3 days later. A few weeks later, just when the company thought it had escaped extortion, vehicles in its headquarters parking lot were set on fire. Then, a container with hydrochloric acid and a threatening letter addressed to GLICO were found in Ibaraki, where the warehouse was located. This began a string of letters from a person or group that dubbed itself the Monster with 21 Faces, named after a villain in Japanese detective series. The letters threatened the company's products, claiming that their candies were laced with potassium cyanide soda. GLICO was forced to pull the products off the shelves, resulting in a $21 million loss and a layoff of 450 part-time workers. After months of tormenting GLICO, the Monster with 21 Faces decided to look for fun someplace else. Their final letter towards the company read, "We forgive GLICO." With that abrupt ending, they turned their sights on the food companies Marurai Ham, House Foods Corporation, and Fuja. In exchange of stopping their harassment towards Marurai, one of its employees was handed a ransom in money on a train. That was where an investigator who disguised himself as an employee saw the prime suspect known as the Fox-Eyed Man. The man was well built, his hair cut short, and permed with eyes like those of a fox. After dropping the ransom as instructed, he and another investigator attempted to follow the Fox-Eyed Man, only to lose him. They would get a second chance later on, but he again evaded them. After continuing harassment toward the police, a year later, Police Superintendent Yamamoto committed suicide by setting himself on fire, ashamed of his failure to capture the Fox-Eyed Man. 5 days following the death, the Monster with 21 Faces sent its final letter to the media. Yamamoto of Shinga Prefecture Police died. How stupid of him. We've got no friends or secret hiding place in Shinga. It's Yoshonino or Shikata who should have died. What they have been doing for as long as 1 year and 5 months. Don't let bad guys like us get away with it. There are many more fools who want to copy us. No career Yamamoto died like a man. So we decided to give our condolence. We decided to forget about torturing food-making companies. If anyone blackmails any of the food-making companies, it's not us, but someone copying us. We are bad guys. That means we've got to do more than bullying companies. It's fun to lead a bad man's life. Monster with 21 Faces. And with that final statement, the Monster with 21 Faces disappeared, never to be heard from again. Number 2. The SS OURANG MEDAN. Ghost ships aren't just portrayed in legends and movies such as the Pirates of the Caribbean. In this true story, the entire crew mysteriously perished. It all started in 1947, when ships traveling the Straits of Malacca, located between Sumatra and Malaysia, heard a troubling distress call. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. An American ship called Silver Star answered the distress call and found the OURANG MEDAN, but there were no signs of the crew on the deck, even when they tried to call them. And so they were boarded on the ship, only to find themselves in a horse scene. Scattered across the deck were the corpses of the Dutchmen, their faces construed in such a way one would think they had witnessed something ghastly before their demise. Even the dog was dead. Its face was also contorted in agony. The captain's body was found on the bridge, while the communication officer was still at his post, his cold fingers pressing the telegraph. The American crew went down to the boiler deck to find the same situation. Despite it being over 100 degrees down there, a cold chill came over them. Retreating to their ship again, they decided to tow the OURANG MEDAN to port, but as soon as they attached the tow line, smoke began billowing out of the ship. Moments later, it exploded, sinking into its watery grave, taking all its secrets along with it. What horrible thing did the crew witness? Some believe it was the work of the paranormal. Perhaps a band of ghost pirates raided the ship, or aliens decided to drop in. Such unexplainable things do happen, as firefighter and EMT Mick Mays have experienced in his firehouse. Others have more scientific explanation. Many theorize that the Dutch ship was smuggling hazardous materials such as potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin. Seawater may have interacted with the cargo, causing the toxic gases to be released and poison the crew. The nitroglycerin would later cause the explosion. Or maybe there was trouble in the boiler room and carbon monoxide killed the crew, and the fire got out of hand and destroyed the ship. The most troubling is the fact that, although the Silver Star is very real, there is no registration of the ship. It's almost as if the ship never even existed. The stories, everything that happened on the ship, it's all too odd that it happened in the way that it did. I believe that this is the work of the paranormal. The fact that they got on the boat, were able to discover everything, then got it back to port, and it suddenly exploded, to the no registration of the ship whatsoever. It's almost as if this was just merely a sailor's tale. Number 1. The Cape Intruder. This final unsolved case takes place in Cape Elizabeth, Maine. The community experienced something unnerving. During the nighttime, victims who kept their doors unlocked would wake up in the morning to catch a brief glimpse of a man staring at them. Before they could react, the man would flee the scene, leaving the house just as it was before he entered it. Nothing was stolen, nobody was injured or killed. All that he took was their privacy when he snuck into their bedrooms to watch them sleep. A rough sketch depicting a man in his early 20s played on the local news. Everybody seemed to think they knew who it was, and police received a number of calls from concerned citizens naming possible suspects. Although 2 people did name the same person, the police were never able to catch the Cape Intruder. After some intrusions in August, December, and February, he never broke in again. Perhaps he had his fill of staring at sleeping bodies during that time period, but the thought that such a person existed and still walks among us is enough to give anyone the chills, and of course, serves as a grim reminder to lock your door. And alright guys, that's going to wrap up this week's video. If you guys enjoyed, please let me know down in the comment section below. I know for me personally, recording this video, I felt more engaged, and I felt like it was more of a real situation than the Reddit videos. While the Reddit videos are fun to record, and they're a good scare from time to time, I feel like the stories are kind of exaggerated, which takes me out of the element of, like, you know, taking it serious like it's a real story. These being true crimes that actually occurred just kind of puts me in more of a eerie creeped out mindset. I don't know if it does the same for you guys. If it does, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell, it all helps this channel's eventual goal to reach 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And I really have nothing much more for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. See ya.